Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Getting Over podcast, and this one's a special one because it's a premium live event. Yes, I know I've started saying it, but bear with me. It's a premium live event that's all about the ladies. That's right, Evolution coming this weekend, and it's all about the ladies wrestling. So we gathered, we talked about last time, we talked about this time, we talked about the comings, the news, everything's here. All here for you. Before we start, do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And obviously the big one, the one we like the most is, if you've got a wrestling fan in your life, send this podcast their way. They will love it. Right. Let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Getting over.
Oh, welcome one and all to the greatest wrestling podcast in all of CookieCast. That's right, it's time for Getting Over. And we're on the road to WWE Evolution this coming weekend with a little stop on Saturday for Saturday night's main event and the Great American Bash, busy weekend, so all that thrown in for good measure. But to help navigate that particular course on this episode, we have the creator, Mr. Andrew Cook, alongside podcast regular, Mr. Paul Williams. How are we, gents?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Excited as always.
I mean, he's absolutely going to kill me for mentioning this, but I feel we can't pass this point without saying happy birthday to Mr. Cook as well, seeing as that will now be forever recorded in podcast history. So,
well, Stu, as it's the last one I'll be recording for the next 5 years, because when you reach my age, you stop recording yearly birthdays and then switch to a 5-year system, and then a 10-year system. I thank you for that. It's for 5 years, and I hope to see you all then, for the obvious reason.
Right. Well, as always, we will kick off with some predictions results, and we'll see who will carry that gold into the next episode. Before hitting a little bit of news from over the last month, and then reloading some more predictions ready for the weekend ahead. So, let's get into it. Last episode, Andy had his hand raised as champion after a successful tiebreak answer. So he retained the title.
Never.
But what would Money in the Bank bring? Has anyone cashed in on a golden opportunity? Could the newcomer and guest predictor Max get his hands on the title at the first attempt? Well, conspicuous by his absence, Max promised us an appearance on the podcast at some point. However, thanks to me being very unorganised and Max being clearly a social butterfly, he was busy this evening, but has promised us an appearance for the SummerSlam episode. So again, it's recorded, it's out there in podcast history. So Max, when you listen to this, sort your diary out. Well, we had a total of 4 points to play for heading into the Money in the Bank weekend, and I really, really at this point have to say this was absolutely by far one of the worst sets of predictions that we've ever delivered. Matt gets a little bit of a reprieve here because he wasn't able to join us for the last episode, so he isn't included in the absolute dross fest that was these results. In last place, newcomer Max, 1 out of 4. Though as a little bonus side note, he was the only one of the 4 of us to predict that Seth Rollins would win the men's Money in the Bank match. So moving up the board, the rest of us got 2 points.
I honestly, all I hoped for was it's the worst set of predictions ever, and winning this one with 1 point.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Obviously.
Well,
oh, good! I get to do a 3-way tiebreaker, 3 chances to lose.
Well, Clearly, that, as Andy points out, that does leave myself, Paul, and Andy all tied on a measly 2 out of 4, which means it's going to be tiebreak time shortly. Andy did have Naomi to win the women's Money in the Bank. Paul and I had Cody and Jay to win the tag match, and all 3 of us had Becky to win the Intercontinental Championship. But that leaves us with a bit of a quandary. Well, firstly, who's going to take the title? And secondly, we haven't got a 4th on the podcast this time around. We need a tiebreak question. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, making her debut on Getting Over on CookieCast, Sarah Woodmansey.
Yeah.
You have to speak now. This is not a swear.
It finally happened. This is fucking awesome. I'm so excited. I'm
birthday
happy
treat.
to lose.
First and foremost, can you guys hear Sarah okay? Because she is a little bit further away from the mic than I am.
I've got it.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah.
So, your tiebreak question, gentlemen. Based on their build weights, what is the combined weight in pounds of all 6 participants in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match?
Oh,
So just for clarity, and to give you guys a bit of time, I asked Sarah to do this last night. I haven't seen that question. I now need a pen and paper. But the men in the men's Money in the Bank match, just for clarity, Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Penta, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. None of which are huge guys. Right. Let me get my pen and
sorry,
paper.
hang on a second. So
I'll count down timer.
Solo, Penta, Gable, Grande, Seth. LA Knight was the other one. I'm missing one.
Andrade.
No guesses why I forgot him. The company, apparently, I forgot him. Right, okay.
Well, obviously, it's Andy's. Andy is going in as champion, so he can go first, or he can defer to whatever position he wants to go.
Right. I'm just going to go in because to say I've done quick maths. Right. I'll even add the loves at the end of it.
Okay, so Andy's gone 1290. Paul, do you want to go next or do you want to go last?
I'm still adding mine up.
Okay.
So...
I have gone lower than Andy. I have gone for £1,093.
Oh, so what was Andy's?
1,290.
So I've gone over what Andy said. I've gone for 1320.
Okay, so Sarah, over to you for the answer.
So the answer is £1,367. So Mr. Williams.
So taking the predictions title away from Mr. Cook on his birthday, you horrible, horrible man.
Yeah, sorry about
It's Paul Williams with the nearest guess of 1320. So only £47 away. So what's that like? El Grande's leg or something?
So I showed you what I'd written down, and I said I did some quick maths.
Oh, Andy.
That was my calculator.
Oh.
So
because I went on average £220 times 6. There we go.
It's 2
I mean, you've got like the almost exact.
Well, I was just trying to work it out, like sort of like based on what each of them look like.
Well, okay. Well, thank you very much for the question, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Right. So, based on the information she's just handed to me, the individually billed weights: Rollins at 217, Andrade at 210, El Grande Americano at 240,
What's
LA
that?
Knight at 240, Penta 210, and
Oh,
Solo Sikoa 250.
so the only one of those that I got bang on was Penta. I had him at bang on 210. I had Gable that was 185.
Yeah, I think
A lot of
I
that
think
was
they've added a bit on for that personally,
yeah,
but
definitely. Because
and
he is lean, but
well,
rich.
for reasons that we'll get to, El Grande Americano could now be closer to 240 by the time that this podcast is aired.
I don't know what you could possibly be talking about, Stuart.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go straight into it. So, in the news this month, Chad Gable is injured. I mean, who'd have thought it? Wrestling twice or three times in the weekend of Money in the Bank, and then hurting his arm, and then trying to work through that. But yeah, it's looking actually like a shoulder injury may keep Gable off TV for quite a while to come, potentially requiring surgery. There's talk of him making it into a bit of a documentary kind of a deal as well about his rehab and all the rest of it. But now the future of El Grande Americano could have been in doubt. But it seems that Ludwig Kaiser has currently taken up the mantle to keep this going in Chad's absence. Part of me really wants them to keep this just completely fluid. Just keep passing it around. So like next week it's like R-Truth and everybody just plays it straight.
This was the thing that I'd see where someone was like, they should just basically just have 1 week where Xavier Woods does it and no one bats an eyelid and stuff like that. And I was like, that would be absolutely spectacular.
They need it to be like say Truth 1 week. It should be like Natalia 1 week, just because. Like just keep it going. It would be perfect.
It's basically the modern day Doink the Clown.
But this is a massive case of WWE as always, putting all the golden goose eggs in one basket, because they've struck gold with the whole him working two characters, the comedy element of it, amongst the fact that he's also developing the Gable character in the sense of he can't really win when he's Gable, but he seems to be able to win when he's Grande kind of thing. And now he's injured. Now what? So obviously best wishes to Chad, and hopefully the shoulder injury is maybe not as serious as anticipated and he gets back a bit quicker than they thought. Breaking news from just before we started recording the podcast. There has been a departure from WWE today. Not a wrestler, but he has been there for 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford, has left WWE. That guy has been presenting, particularly the international and internet shows for WWE. I mean, it said 15 years on the thing I read, but it feels like a lot longer than that. Like a lot longer than that. So yeah,
I don't know if these things that came. I don't know if you got them over in the States, but it always like I can't think of the word they used for it, but it was like the roundup package where it'd basically be like the clips from the week's shows. So it'd be like, they'd paste in this bit from Raw, this bit from SmackDown, this bit from like main event or whatever.
It's the magazine show, isn't it, basically?
That's the word I'm looking for. Magazine show. That is exactly the word.
So he joined in 2009 and he hosted WWE Bottom Line, which was the one kind of I remember him from. But yeah, pre-shows, studio programs like Raw Talk, the SmackDown Lowdown, Afterburn, and This Week in WWE is the one that was kind of heavily featured when the network was a big thing. But yeah, Scott Stanford seems to be a bit of a mainstay. So I was a bit surprised by that one when I saw it pop up. Anyway, we shall move along. So since we were here last, there has been another Premium Live event that we didn't predict. Now, regular listeners will know that we generally don't cover the Saudi shows, but we do need to know a few of the results to keep this train rolling along. So, the big hitters from the show were Cody has defeated Randy Orton in the finals to become King of the Ring. Jade Cargill defeated Asuka to become Queen of the Ring. Solo Sikoa defeated Jacob Fatu to become the US champ, and a new member of the New Bloodline debuted, although now they're potentially going to be known as MFT. which apparently stands for My Family Tree, which also sounds a little bit like that website that your parents subscribe to find out who your ancestors were. And John Cena defeating CM Punk to retain the WWE Undisputed title. Seth Rollins sort of attempted a cash in, didn't really get going. So he still does have the Money in the Bank briefcase for now. As we mentioned this weekend, we've got Evolution coming up, which is what we're going to do the predictions for. But we've also got another couple of events. Just for clarity on the podcast, we're only going to predict Evolution. If we predicted the full weekend, we'd be here until, I don't know, Andy's next birthday.
Welcome to hour 6 of this particular podcast.
But just to cover off the other stuff that's happening this weekend briefly, we've got the Great American Bash on Saturday afternoon. It's a little bit earlier in the day. This is NXT's time to shine, and this year's Great American Bash will come to us from Atlanta. Matches here include Javon Evans versus Jasper Troy, Sol Ruka defending her North American title against Izzy Dame, Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe tagging against JC Jane and Fallon Henley, Ethan Page defending the men's North American title in a Falls Count Anywhere match against Ricky Saints. To be fair, probably the match on that card I'm looking forward to the most. And then Obafemi defending the NXT title against Yoshiki Inamura. Now, if you're not familiar with NXT, I've probably just read a ton of names that you're not familiar with. Go look it up. It's on the upturn for me. It has been for quite some time. Those names may not be known to you now, but may I suggest if you don't watch NXT, they will absolutely be known to you inside the next 18 to 24 months at the very latest. Some good stuff going on there. I still can't get over the fact that Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, formerly known as Ricky Starks, are essentially got the gimmick match, the match that's going to be billed for the rest of the week to kind of bring in the viewers, when effectively that is an AEW match to all content, in the sense of that's exactly where they came from. Ethan Page not even really had a change in name, despite the fact he's going by Ethan these days and not Egon, as Danhausen may have suggested. So yeah, that's a nice little appetizer for Saturday afternoon. Saturday night, however, we've also got Saturday night's main event. Now, at time of recording, I've only seen 3 matches listed for this because it's not really a premium live event as such. It's a bit more like a glorified house show. However,
it's network TV over there, isn't it? So is it NBC it's on?
It's probably be on USA, will it? I thought.
Oh, well, so back in the day, it used to be their NBC tie-in. But I don't know. I always thought it was NBC, but it might be on the USA network.
I know that obviously internationally, up until now, it's been YouTube for us as Saturday night's main event, because the whoever has got the TV deal in the States wouldn't relinquish the international rights to Netflix. I have a feeling when I watched Raw this past week that they did mention Netflix in the international market. So if it's not on YouTube, it'll be on Netflix. You'll get to watch it. And the 3 matches that you'll get to watch, or the advertised matches, Seth Rollins versus LA Knight, Randy Orton versus a returning Drew McIntyre, and then the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther defending his title against none other than Bill Goldberg. I mean, on the plus side, they didn't send him to Saudi to knock himself out. They'll be able to get him to a local medical facility a little quicker. We should have seen it coming, is what I would say, in the sense of there was that Raw when Gunther kind of gave him some stick when he was sat in the crowd with his family, like 6 months ago, whatever it was. So we should have seen it coming. I didn't expect Goldberg's payday, however, like I say, to be in a glorified house show in Atlanta, but it is his adopted hometown, I guess. So there's that. But this is what we had a little chat about earlier, but about how this Evolution seems to be treated as kind of not really the main part of the weekend. Saturday night's main event has had a big part of the billing on Raw, certainly the last few weeks. It's been the Goldberg Gunther thing. It's been Seth Rollins all over it. It's not been setting up any of the matches for Evolution. Now, that might be because it was looking like they were going to be pinning a lot of hopes on Liv Morgan having a featured match. And now she's out with a shoulder injury too. So there is that piece of injury news also. It might be because they were anticipating, I think that featured match was possibly going to be against Nikki Bella. So she came back, was in the building when Liv got injured, and then that happened, and they just seemed to not have a clue what was happening from that point onwards. But obviously, Evolution isn't just one match; it's a series of matches, and the build up to all of them, to be honest, has been absolutely ludicrous. I think just before we started recording, when Mr. Cook said, "Oh," and I was having a look, and oh yeah, it's an all women's pay-per-view this weekend. Like, they've not done a very good job of promoting this whatsoever. If you'd have gone to anybody who watches wrestling and said what big match is happening this weekend, not one of them would have picked out the fact that Trish is returning to face Tiffany Stratton. Not one of them would have picked out Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. Every single person, I think, would have said the Gunther Goldberg. And there's even a fair shout that more people might have picked some of the matches from NXT, given the list of names that I've already read out as well.
Dare I also suggest as well that a certain show that's been put on by a completely different company might get some column inches for the particular weekend. Is it Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada? Like 8 or whatever that is that the amount of times they've faced each other, they're having a match again now. So I imagine that's probably getting a fair amount of column inches.
Yeah, well, and as well, it's not like that they exactly have crap matches either, is it? To be fair, so yeah, I can understand them wanting to make the weekend heavy in programming to compete. I think we've gone for a throw as much shit at the wall and see what sticks approach is my unfortunate assessment so far. However, as we will get to the prediction shortly, that does open up an opportunity for those women, the women who haven't had a women's only premium live event since 2018.
Even that feels crazy that it was 7 years ago.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being in the October as well. So it's it's getting on, but that shows to me the absolute change that there was this huge push to get the women front and center, level pegging with the guys. It got there. They main evented WrestleMania. Can we attribute the whole Vince McMahon demise to kind of being linked in with the fact that the women got pushed to the back again, in the sense of they were maybe even a little bit frightened to do it in case anything else came out, or just to stay away from the awkward questions about women's wrestling in WWE for a while?
Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, anyway, we'll move on, because we're going to come back to Evolution, all guns blaring, very, very shortly. The last piece that I had was that this past Monday, Seth Rollins became a little less Mr. Money in the Bank. So unfortunately, hours after Raw this past Monday, at around 2:30 to 3 a.m. local time, the home of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch was burgled. Southern Californian residents, apparently. They were away at Raw in Providence, Rhode Island, The police were quoted as saying that burglars allegedly busted through the home's rear slider and took cash from the residents. TMZ were reporting it's around $9,000 in cash stolen. Caused a lot of damage, apparently. But yeah, we've seen it over here with the football. You don't really hear too much about it in the States. Obviously, we've had it where famous footballers have been to an away game to find that they've been away from home and have been broken into. But you'd have thought, really, you'd probably hear more of it in the States because they tour further, all the time. They're away for weeks on end sometimes. But yeah, this kind of popped up has been a bit of a high profile one. So yeah. So that was it. Unless you guys can think of anything else that I've forgotten that's glaringly obvious over the last few weeks, that is the news section. Okay. Right. Well, in which case then, just before we start to get stuck into some hefty predictions, because spoiler alert, it's not a standard Triple H5. We shall be right back. Go recharge your glasses. We'll be doing the same. Don't blink, don't go anywhere, and we'll be with you with those predictions momentarily. See, we're back. We're already back. I've already drank half my drink because we've been yakking, if I'm truthful. Anyway, we are here to predict the matches from this weekend's WWE Evolution Premium Live event. As we mentioned, 7 years after the inaugural incarnation, this weekend's event comes to us live on Sunday, July the 13th from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The women's divisions within Raw, SmackDown, and NXT are all eligible to compete. And in a huge break to the norm, as I mentioned, we actually have 7 matches on deck. Not 5, not 6, 7. And normally, all the match card information is taken from WWE.com. But in another change to the usual catchphrase, this time we've had to take the card from Wikipedia. Now, this could be seen as a risky move for a podcast, because who knows that Logan Paul might not turn up in the Women's Battle Royal, according to their information. But I'd wager that not having the promoting company's website updated with the announced matches in the week leading up to the actual event is probably riskier. WWE, tell me you're not asked about Evolution without telling me you're not asked about Evolution. But as we always say, the card is subject to change, and this time could go anywhere. So in other words, blame WWE if we're wrong. But I'm pretty sure we can use that excuse for the actual predictions as well, right?
Cool. 100%.
So 7 matches to predict. Let's dive in. The first of those matches is the NXT Women's Title match. Jacy Jayne defending as champion against Jordynne Grace. Now, Jacy Jayne took the title in a little bit of a shock from Stephanie Vaquer, and since then, her group Fatal Influence have had NXT under their collective control. Flanked by Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix, Jacy looks unstoppable at the moment, but one woman stands in her way, the juggernaut Jordynne Grace. In recent weeks, Jordynne has received some backup in the form of Blake Monroe, which is Mariah May to the AEW fans amongst you. But the numbers are obviously still in the favour of the champ. Both of these are obviously working a tag team match as well the day before at Great American Bash, as I mentioned, where Blake Monroe teams with Jordynne Grace to face Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley. So there'll be a little bit of a flavour or an extra flavour from between now and then. But we haven't got that luxury. We just need to know if we're going to see Jordynne Grace as the new champion this weekend. Either of you guys want to go first? I already have all mine in the book, so I'm happy to go wherever.
Yep, I'm thinking it's a big old win for Jordynne Grace.
Jordynne Grace, okay.
Wasting that gold. I think this has been on cards for a while at this point in time, and it's the absolute perfect stage for it. Something like this, I hate to start out on the first match with my usual. It's an easy title win to start the ball rolling, but yeah, That's that's the way I see it going.
Okay, up, Paul.
So I was going to be in agreement with Mr. Cook there. In that I thought we were looking at a title change here, but the the fact that they've put in the tag match the day before makes me think that potentially they could. Jordan and I can't remember. Is it Blake Monroe? Did you say is what a new name is? I reckon they win the tag match in even potentially as much as Jordan Grace pins JCJ, and then the swerve, as it were, if you will, the next night is that Blake Monroe costs Jordan Grace the match. So
You almost took the words right out of my mouth. I agree entirely about the Jordan Grace is pinning JCJ in that tag match without an absolute shadow of a doubt. I think that is nailed on. I don't see Blake Monroe costing her though the next night so early. Blake Monroe is quite a new character to NXT at the time being, and particularly this past week, if you've seen Jordan Grace, she has been through a lot of how can I put it, like body transformation over the years. She's
just a bit.
she's been a bodybuilder. She's not been a bodybuilder, but she's definitely more in the kind of muscular physique range at the moment. Blake Monroe was supposed to meet her for a workout on NXT this past week. Jordan Grace obviously assumed that meant in a gym. Blake Monroe meant a glamour workout and took her to a spa, effectively, which didn't go down very well. So I feel like there's going to be that comedy element between the two for at least another, well, until the next title defense, when what Paul has said will probably happen then. I just feel like it's a little bit too soon for now. I've just got she'll win at Great American Bash, and then JCJ will win at Evolution, purely for the fact there'll be some numbers game shenanigans.
Well, I was going to say, do you reckon if that is the case, do you reckon there'll be some sort of like shenanigans to keep Grace looking strong?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so got Andy with Jordan Grace and me and Paul with JCJ already in the book. So match number 2 on my list is the women's tag team title match. So this isn't a straight up 2v2. This is indeed a fatal 4-way tag team match. So we've got Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez as champions from the Judgment Day, defending against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss from SmackDown, Sol Ruka and Zarya from NXT, and Asuka and Kairi Sane from Raw. And yet again, here we are. We find the women's tag division in an absolute state of turmoil. Jinxed titles may be a real thing after all. This time, tag team champion Liv Morgan is out with a shoulder injury, as we mentioned. Potentially months on the shelf await her. So Judgment Day have managed to convince Adam Pearce that Roxanne Perez should take Liv's place. But he said that she's going to have to defend those titles with Raquel to prove that she's worthy. The defense, as I mentioned, is against one team from Raw, one from SmackDown, and one from NXT to make up the fatal 4-way. Yeah, if you've not seen the NXT team against Sol Ruka and Zarya, both great. Obviously, Sol Ruka is the current and may not be by this time, obviously the North American champion in the women's division, and she has one hell of a finisher. Although every time I see it, I feel like she's knocking time off her own career because it's sort of like an inverted RKO that she kind of flips around the corner to do. It looks insane when she does it. And because her first name is Sol, they called it the Soul Snatcher, which again, in international markets, WWE, just be careful with your naming. So the SmackDown team of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss feels like a right old mishmash to me.
Did someone say thrown together?
But Paul, they also said women's premium live event with title matches. So Charlotte's going to be in there somewhere.
Oh, good lord.
And the Raw team of Kairi Sane and Asuka are reforming as the Kabuki Warriors. Them two particularly have had their problems with Judgment Day for a good while now, so kind of that wasn't so much of a surprise. It feels like a bit of a free-for-all, this one. This is probably the most unpredictable to me, with one exception, because let's be fair, the NXT team are winning it. But other than that, where are we going to see the gold go on Sunday? I have gone for a bit of a cop-out answer, I suppose. I think the result of this match entirely depends on actually how bad Liv Morgan's shoulder is. Because if they expect her back within 2 months, maybe, rather than the predicted 6 or 7, Judgment Day will win. Because they'll create this whole... There's already tension between Roxanne and Liv, and that's where it's going. If she is out for a long period of time, I can see them switching the titles to something like somewhere completely different to spice up this other storyline which is developing between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, as Charlotte Flair doesn't want the help. Alexa Bliss is all for kind of allies of convenience, shall we say, to help each other out, and that's sort of feeling a bit awkward as well. So if they have to spend more time together as tag team champions, then there's a bit more of a story for them to push. On the basis that I think Liv's shoulder is probably pretty bad, if you've seen where it happened on the episode of Raw, it looked like she kind of like jarred her shoulder as she hit the mat front first, and it could be potentially a collarbone sort of area injury, which is not nice. So on that basis, I have gone for Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And now I feel like I need to go and wash my mouth out whilst you two take up the other two predictions. Paul?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I think, well, going back to what you first said, I think we're at the point where we just need to admit that the women's tag titles have not worked. They've been nothing but trouble. I don't think a single team's really sort of done well with them since maybe the Iconics, and that's what 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or something like that. So, and ever since then, I'd go so far as to say as every single team at some point suffered an injury that's had them since then. It certainly feels like it. Personally, though, I think they will just, unless you're planning on taking Perez back out of the Judgment Day or removing Raquel from the Judgment Day, I don't see a scenario where you take the belts off them just yet. So I'll go for the Judgment Day to retain, please.
Yep, that's in the book. Andy?
All on this one, I've got a retention for reasons that will become clearer maybe later in the episode. I agreed with what you were saying. I think it basically is how long that injury is going to last. But I also feel there's a little bit of a placeholder kind of situation. So yeah, they could easily do a let's move the belts now to move them back later kind of situation. But for the sake of maybe not knowing quite where that injury is going to lie, it might be safer to leave the belts where they are now and then see. Retain for me, please.
Okay, you are in the book. Good, sir. Right. Moving on, match 3 on the card, I have as the Intercontinental title triple threat match. So Becky Lynch defending as champion against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. So this triple threat's kind of been brewing for a while now. As we know, Becky returned at WrestleMania to take the place of Bayley, who had been attacked backstage and could no longer compete as Lyra's partner. So Becky and Lyra teamed up, took the tag team titles at WrestleMania, And those titles evaporated in their first title defense on the Raw the night after WrestleMania. So Becky soon turned on Lyra, and the two have been at odds ever since. During this process, it's also been revealed that Becky was attacked by. Becky was the attacker that put Bayley on the shelf, and now the role model's back for retribution too. Even if that means stepping on the toes of her friend Lyra, should be a pretty heated triple threat. This one, probably got a shout at match of the night. This is one of them ones that would be up there for me. But who is going to take the Intercontinental title home? Paul, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty straightforward one. I think Becky will retain, and I think it will come about because Bayley and Lyra will probably they'll probably work together to remove her from the equation, as normally happens with the triple threat match. And then obviously they'll then have the sort of the element of the one-on-one with just the two of them, and they'll sort of suffer the natural implosion that happens when people try and team together. And Becky will come in and steal the quick one off one or the other, more than likely Lyra.
Yeah. Okay, you're in the book for Becky. Andy was nodding away there the entire time.
100%. That's exactly the way I'd see this one going. It's all, like Paul said, it's always the way with the triple threat. Always. Oh, let's get rid of the person on the belt, and then, oh, wait, now we need to fight. Oh, let's get this done, and then I might as well take that pin while I'm there. Oh, look, couple of days, 2 days later. So, yeah, absolutely agree.
It's way too early for Bayley to become heel Bayley again. It'll happen off the back of this Lyra situation. I'm pretty sure of that, but not right now. So for the first time on this episode, we have a clean sweep as I too got Becky to retain. So that was a nice easy one for us, wasn't it? Fourth match on the card I have as the no holds barred match between Naomi and Jade Cargill. This all started months ago when Naomi threw Jade through a car windshield and then hid from blame. That was until Jade came back and annihilated Naomi at the Elimination Chamber, which forced Naomi to withdraw from that match before it had even started. Since then, both have gone on to achieve relative levels of success, with Naomi becoming Miss Money in the Bank and, I have to say, growing into her new character week by week, putting out some of the absolute best work of her career. And in terms of Jade's success, as we mentioned, she recently took the Queen of the Ring crown at Night of Champions. That has earned her a title shot at SummerSlam against whoever may be WWE Women's Champion at the time. Before either woman gets to their respective title match, obviously Naomi's via the way of the briefcase, this feud needs to be put to bed, and it couldn't really be a normal 1v1. So no holds barred it is. Who's going to win this? Andy?
I want Jade down to win this, and it's time for a bit of the old payback sauce. So it's time for that to be resolved, I think. So yeah, I want Jade down to win. Payback that is absolutely new.
What, Paul?
Similar sort of thought process. Naomi's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. So basically, book her to lose every single match that she's in for the next 6 months / however long she has the briefcase for, because that's the tried and trusted technique that they always go with.
So Jade for you, yeah?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I have also gone for Jade, and just sort of foreshadowing a little bit, the reason that I made sure that I put the information in about Jade getting her title shot at SummerSlam was because she's either going to win it or be about to win it, and then Naomi will cash in on that match. It has to be. That's kind of, I know that's very route one, but I think that they kind of throw people off by saying that this is going to be the match that ends the rivalry.
Yeah.
And it won't.
Exactly.
So yeah,
what better way to end the rivalry than end it and then immediately restart it 3 weeks later?
It's almost like you've been playing the My GM mode on WWE 2K, Paul, isn't it? Yeah. So, if you're not careful, though, you will get a shitty email from Triple H saying that the fans have had enough. And then, in true form, you just carry on regardless. That's sort of how that bit works. So 2 clean sweeps back to back. I doubt we're going to get a clean sweep here on the basis of this is possibly the most ambiguous match we've ever had to predict.
Oh God! I
And
don't even
this
need to say it. I know exactly which match he's coming to here. Good
this is
Lord,
going to
this
be the
could be an
Battle Royal.
absolute fucking mind fuck, basically.
Yeah, this is going to be the Battle Royal for the title match at Clash in Paris. So not many announcements have been made for this one. I really had to dig deep, even as recent as 10 minutes before we recorded the podcast, to find out who else had been announced. Because when I first decided to write up the notes for the podcast, I had 2 names. There's potentially up to 18 people in this match. And I had 2. I do have a few more now, thankfully, after digging properly. But we've still not got the full field. So we have now. Are you ready for this, boys? Because if I struggle to find it, you guys might not have these names either. So Nia Jax, Stephanie Vaquer, Natalia, Maxine Dupree, Ivy Nile, and Nikki Bella were all confirmed on Raw, apparently. 6 more entrants were confirmed on NXT, and those are Jada Parker, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, Izzy Dame, and Tatum Paxley. There's nobody officially in from SmackDown at the time of recording, but like as I say, from the previous list, there's 6 of each, so I'm expecting there to be another 6 probably announced on Friday, because why not leave it till the last minute? It's not like you've got an event to promote this week or anything. Picking a winner out of this feels like a real shot in the dark, because you can either go with one of the ones that we've mentioned, one of potentially 6 from SmackDown, but also I'd throw into the mix at this point, 18 feels like a really weird number for an amount of entrants. So they're either going to round that up to 20 or maybe even push it to 25. There are all kinds of rumours circulating online about at least a couple of women from WWE's past. One of those being Gail Kim. Worked obviously very closely with TNA for a long time. Now TNA have got a working relationship with WWE again. You can see why that's been put together. I don't know if it's more or less surprising the other name that's been banded around, but the other name being banded around is AJ Lee. Now, this could be because it's a weekend where there's potentially a women's match that needs a hand, and CM Punk is still in the company, because her name is getting mentioned more and more and more. Whether she will ever come back or not, who knows? But yeah, those are the 2 names I have seen banded around to possibly take spots in this match. But on top of that, even if they are in the match, are they going to want to take a trip to Paris to lose to Tiffany Stratton or either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky? So anybody volunteering? You what, Paul?
Technically, the NXT Women's Champ would be in play, would it, if they've got people from NXT in the battle royal, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can immediately wipe 6 off your list already, can't you? So,
wow.
I would love it if Lola Vice won, because I really like Lola Vice from NXT. I think she's great. She won't, but that if I was going to pick one of those 6 to win, it would be her. I think she deserves it too. Yeah. Did you want to volunteer to go first, Paul?
I mean, I can do. I'm looking at the list of entrants. Part of me thinks they're either going to give it to one of the old timers, maybe Natalia, because she's from Canada. So in certain people's minds, that makes her half French anyway. And they've got to be from like your Montreal. Oh, wait a minute, she is. No, she's not, is she? I don't fucking know. When I was first going through it, I was gonna pick Stephanie Vaquer, and I was like, is it too early? because you'd imagine the second she think when she gets the title match, she pretty much has to win because they want to keep that character strong and stuff like that. So I think I've talked myself into it here. Fuck it, put me down for Natalia.
Yeah, did not expect that. Should probably mention at this point as well that Julia, who came up from NXT with Stephanie Vicker, took the Women's United States title from Zelina Vega the night before Night of Champions, I think it was, on SmackDown. So there may be the Women's US champion involved from the SmackDown side of things. Probably expect Zelina Vega to be in it from their side of the equation as well, although those aren't confirmed. Andy?
What Nikki Bella?
Yep. I've also done that too. So I know my reason. My reason is because they've given her plenty of promo time over the last 6 weeks. And this has been the only real promotion that they've done because it was supposed to be Nikki versus Liv, hands down. And it's not. So I think that Nikki is back for a little bit of a run. And I think that it's a good excuse that she gets a trip to Paris out of it. So that's kind of my thought on it. I don't know if yours is any different.
Yeah, it's the promotion side of things. It's like it seems random in some ways, but not in others.
Yeah, cool. That's right. That's it then. That's so it's as long as basically a woman beginning with N wins that match, we're in the points somewhere. Right. Nikita Lyons from oh no, she's not in it from NXT. Damn it. Right. Okay. So we've got 2 more matches to predict. These are the biggest matches on the card because they're for the 2 main titles in the women's division. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we might just have to have a little reset again. Just take literally a 2-second break for the listeners and viewers, and then come back at you to predict the WWE Women's title match between Tiffany Stratton and a returning Trish Stratus, and then the Women's World title match between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. So again, don't move, don't blink, you don't need to. We'll be right back. And we're back. It is the final 2 matches, as I said, and we're going to go straight into the predictions for the women's title match, the WWE Women's title, Tiffany Stratton defending as champion against Trish Stratus. This is being billed as a dream match on WWE.com. Yep, that's right, you heard it. This is definitely one that they've talked about of the few. But I'm really failing to bring myself to put it into the dream match category. Like, don't get me wrong, Tiffany is great. She's starting to put together a half-decent title reign, but it's way too soon to be putting her in the same bracket as WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus. Somewhere, likely in a dark room, Vince will be watching this thinking the good times are still here. When they actually start to wrestle and have a match that lasts longer than 4 minutes, then maybe he'll realise he was wrong. The rest of the world can remember why we've moved on, and definitely moved on for the better. If Trish was to win this match, obviously she'll have to extend her run. She'll also become an 8-time women's champion. Is she going to reset Tiffy time? Or is Trish going to be left unstratisfied in Georgia? Paul?
Lovely. That's some exquisite wordplay there. I would like to go for a Tiffany Stratton retention, please.
Okay. And is purely because do you think it's a one and done for Trish?
Yeah, and well, I mean, maybe not specifically on the one and done, but what would be the point in giving her a title run when she's clearly not going to be there for longer than for a couple of matches? Let's put it that way.
I think we're going to get a very quick clean sweep coming here. I've also got Tiffy. Again, exactly what Paul said. Trish is not here for a long time. She might not even be here for a good time, depending on what a wrestling's like these days. But we'll see. Yeah, it's a straight up Tiffany retain for me. Andy?
Yeah, I very much in the camp of what is the point? Let's roll it out again and not have all
I don't know if this was the original plan for this match either. I feel like because of injuries elsewhere, this feels like one that's been shuffled together in the sense of I could have absolutely seen Trish being in the Battle Royal, but I don't know where this has come from other than somebody somewhere has gone, two blondies, they can have a match. And that's just what it feels like. It's just been chucked together with not a lot of thought. So yeah, straight up, Tiffy across the board. Now, we mentioned about matches that could potentially be match of the night. This has definitely got to be up there. Although we have seen this before. The women's world title will be on the line when defending champion Io Sky takes on Rhea Ripley. Io unseated Rhea as world champion on the way to WrestleMania this year, and then retained in what was the match of the weekend, absolutely hands down to me at WrestleMania, in that triple threat with Bianca Belair. Since WrestleMania, Rhea's been looking to regain some momentum by defeating the likes of Raquel Rodriguez at Night of Champions in a hell of a street fight. Also, as well, with some bruised ribs along the way, so she absolutely gutted that one out. Io Sky was asked by Adam Pearce who she should be fighting at Evolution, and the genius of the Sky only had one answer: Rhea Ripley. It was very difficult for her to say. I have a feeling, when I was thinking about this, that they mentioned before that Rhea hasn't beaten Io Sky one-on-one, and that goes back to her NXT days now. Is that going to continue this weekend? I'll give it to Andy. Let's give it to Andy first on the last prediction. Birthday boy can not have his cake trampled on by the other two.
I want to get this on record. I may have mentioned this in the past. I'm sure I know I've sent it off there to you gents separately. I do think at this point in time that Rhea Ripley might be my favorite wrestler. Like, just across the board, I think, like, I'm a big fan of pretty much everything he does. There was a special episode thing she did about going through like all of the tattoos and stuff, and I think that was sort of the point in time where I was like, yeah, I think you're a cool cat. And ever since, it's always been like, I am absolutely behind everything she does. Which is why it's difficult to say that I don't think that she's going to win this match. I believe the reason for that is twofold. One, I believe that WWE has another match in mind with Oscar, with the gold on the line for Io Sky. So I think that needs to happen before Rhea Ripley can take gold back, which, I mean, let's face it, it is going to be a taking of it back. But I do think they want a match out of it first before that happens. For that reason, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say a retention on this one.
Okay. Paul?
So, originally, I would have agreed with Andy, but I think the mere fact that they've mentioned once again that she's never beaten her in one-on-one competition, and I think there's a high possibility this is the main event of the show. I think they will go with the title switch, mainly because, and it's through no fault of her own, ever since she won the title and had that great match at WrestleMania, they have done the square root of dick all with Io Sky. So I don't even think she's defended the title since Mania, which is now 4 months ago.
I'm sure she has on Raw.
Well, either way, she hasn't had a match on a premium live event since Mania, which, when you consider we've had 4 since that point, does seem a bit. Yeah, this is the one. This is one of the things that sort of like gets thrown at Triple H in a minute, is the fact that he's clearly taken his eye off the ball with the women's sort of like division and stuff like that. And I personally wouldn't take it off her. I would keep it on her. I think she's really good. I think she's probably one of the better in ring talents they've got on the roster. Annoyingly, probably one of the only ones who's potentially better than her is Rhea, and it's just annoying that they're sort of like, that they should really sort of send one of them off to SmackDown if they could, because you could argue that they'd be like the top two, and then obviously you've got people like Julia and Stephanie McCurdy that they could also put in the mix, and it's a very healthy women's roster at the moment from a talent perspective. But yeah, I think they'll go with the title switch because it gives them the sort of the hook for the pay per view, if you will, like sort of like that's your sort of your feel good moment to close the show. I would go with.
Yeah. So you're in the book for Rhea.
Please.
I am in the book and in agreement with Andy. I've gone for a retention on this one because Io Sky is probably the most unexpected babyface of the year so far. She's predominantly spent most of her time in WWE as part of a heel group. And since winning the title, the crowd have really got behind it. Well, even before winning the title, the crowd was starting to get behind her, and they're still riding that wave a little bit at the moment. And I feel like Rhea is big enough that she doesn't need the title. If Rhea starts to take the title at this point, you might as well just change her last name to Hogan, or Flair, because we're getting into that sort of territory with her if it happens. I think she needs to be the one to stand up and say, do you know what? I can carry this women's division and I don't even need that. Not in a big-headed way, but she, like, if you need to build a champion, put her against Ripley. If you need to elevate the Intercontinental title, drop Ripley into that for a little bit. It's not going to do her any damage. I feel like across where Paul says that they've dropped the ball with the women's division, it's definitely as a whole. This event should have been the reset that they needed. And it feels like they've waited until the last second and now it's just an afterthought. For me, with the women on both Raw and SmackDown, when it eventually rolls around, the WWE draft cannot come quick enough. I do not need Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill on the same roster. They need to be split. I do not need Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley on the same roster. They need to be split. We need some fresh matches because in taking their eye off the ball, they've relied on the same 2, 3, 4 women for the last 2 years plus. Alexa Bliss probably would have been about in that category before she went off with her injury, and even she's not fit back into the picture because they don't know what to do with her at this point in time.
But honestly, I feel like this is the company's stance. A number of times I've said, why are we shipping talent out the door at all available opportunities and then wheeling Bill Goldberg down the ramp? It never ends. As a company, it's like, oh, let's hit them round the head with this wrestler that we've seen for 40 years at this point, rather than taking some of the talent they've got lying around and saying, how do we build this person? How do we turn this person into a brand? How do we launch them into the stratosphere with this billion-dollar company that we have? How do we make a generational brand that's not relying on bringing people out of retirement to go, hey, here's this guy you've seen 900 times on your screen wrestling badly because they can barely walk. to say that they don't pay attention to the women's division, it feels like they don't pay attention to the industry. It's so baffling to me. I don't get it.
The one thing that I will say about this weekend is that for how badly promoted it's been, and still probably will continue to be right up until the end of Saturday night's main event, it's still happening. They've still managed to get this all women's pay-per-view on, or premium live event on. Sorry, fell into the old school then for a second. But this could be their 2 to 3 hours to absolutely rip it up, to open a few eyes, because the only way that it's going to get back on track is if the fans kick it off as well. The women need to really, really pull a rabbit out of the hat here, and get the fans on side and put that pressure on them to make the women's division more of a priority again. I'm not saying it has to take over the men's, but it definitely needs to have more of an equal standing if it's going to be taken as seriously as it was back in the day when Becky Lynch won that main event at WrestleMania 35. The NXT women in particular, that NXT roster is stacked with women's talent. It is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. Problem is, nobody knows their name at the moment. The 6 that have been picked for that Battle Royal need to prove why they've been picked. The ones that are on the Great American Bash in a bit of a lead into the weekend, they need to prove why they're on that show. And I think those are the ones with the most to prove. And it's a shame that they're going to be the ones that are there setting the pace when it should be like your locker room leaders, effectively, like your Charlotte, like your Bianca Belair, like your Becky Lynch, that have been, they've been there, they've done that. They should be the ones taking the charge. But I feel like everybody's got kind of comfortable and it needs a bit of a shake up. So hopefully this weekend is the catalyst for that. But we will see. We will see. So we do have a full set of predictions for the three of us on deck. We do now know as well that if we need a tiebreaker and we don't have a fourth on the podcast, I can just wheel her out the cupboard, because thank you very much to Sarah for doing the tiebreaker.
And knowing the setup of that room, I can confirm she has been wheeled out from the cupboard. So.
I have to say, for legal reasons, she is allowed out of the cupboard and has free reign of the house. It's fine.
What I would say is that, as you pointed out earlier, this is the second outing with just the three of us. So, maybe it's time to make a change at the top and just,
Well, if she wants to host the podcast one time, if I mention that will probably be the fastest I've ever seen her move away from a screen.
I can't wait for the next wrestling podcast where we all sit down and Stu's screen lights up with Sarah, who just goes, "Gentlemen, let's get started," and it's just straight in, and it's all business, and it'll be like.
It'll be me in the background sat next to the belts with some sort of like...
Yeah, you'll come out to do the tiebreaker. And then
perhaps, maybe that is the way. For how badly I performed on that tiebreaker, maybe that should be... obviously Paul's especially happy with the question, since he's now going into the next episode as the predictions champion. So we'll see if his set of predictions fare him as well this time around. We can't do much worse than we did last time, lads, to be fair. So anyways, but yeah, if nobody's got anything else, all that leaves me to say is thank you very much for joining me on this episode, to the birthday boy himself, and of course Mr. Paul Williams as well. And thank you to everybody who's watched and listened, whether you've been here from the beginning of the podcast, not just this episode, but whether you've been here from the beginning, whether you're new to us. Just really appreciate you spending a bit of time listening to us ramble on. And if you've liked what you heard, hit the subscribe, hit all the like buttons, do all that kind of jazz, because there's more than just the wrestling podcast on CookieCast. We'll have, no doubt, a particularly tasty F1 podcast coming up, given the recent shenanigans. So get involved with that. We are just around the corner from the season of football starting again. And more importantly as well, NFL getting closer. We are getting closer.
9 Sundays.
And not forgetting, of course,
Well,
Mr. Cook's Darkest Timeline. So yeah, please do get involved. Leave us the likes and subscribes. Give us some feedback. Well open to it. And hopefully next time we may even have a wild sighting of Mr. Max Hepworth. We shall see. Right. Thank you very much, gents. And we shall catch you on the next episode.
So you're watching to that. Another one done. Another one gone. Another premium live event. See, I'm learning. Another premium live event in the bag. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you leave us, if you haven't already, if you're new, or maybe if you've sort of not done it yet, do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button. That way you can email us your predictions. Send your predictions in, we'll send you a prize. Beat us, we'll send you a monster prize. That is it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
You've just listened to another episode of Cookie Cast. Thanks for listening.